你有没有开会前拼命准备，一开口却是一片空白的时候？好不容易想了个笑话，结果讲完全场冷场，功劳被同事抢了，只能自己生闷气。今天我和某厂首席产品经理达姐把我们压箱底儿的破局心法一次讲个够。节目的最后，我们还会讲到如何优雅的跟老板唱反调，怎么把功劳稳稳的拿回来的底层逻辑，让你在职场上至少少走3年弯路。
It's almost like I had to force myself to talk.
But then how did you learn what to talk about? So if you force yourself to talk, how do you know what to say?
In conversations, like social conversations, is hard.
No, in like meetings, like work meetings. Maybe like doc reviews, for example.
I prepare for it.
Okay.
If I know like our tech team is going to have a tech review and it's at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, usually I'll find someone that I know over there. I'll ask for a sneaky preview, and then I will like put on like different comments of what questions I have, and I force myself almost. I have to come up with 5 questions, and as I go through the doc, I'll write them down. Chances are I don't get to ask all 5. So I will prioritize which are the top 2 questions I'm mostly curious about, which is the one that has something to do with me. Like, is it going to mention my team mess it up? If that's the case, I would need to prepare for a narrative. If this is like a future product review, I will think about in a year when my team is using it, what problem can it create? And I'll just write it down. So going into the meeting, I don't have to come up with a sentence or a question I already have in front of me. And all I need to pay attention to is my facial expression, my composure to ask a question that doesn't rub people the wrong way, that can build rapport, but still provides insights. And that's something that my boss taught me. Like, he forced me to write down 5 questions before any meeting.
I think that's helpful and good advice. I still struggle when there's not a pre-read or something to do prior to the meeting, where maybe I'm not a decision maker or a key stakeholder, but I'm still invited, and then I feel like I'm not providing value if I don't say anything. Then you also don't want to talk for the sake of talking, or just say like, yes, I agree with what Mike just said. So I think that's good advice too, because you can maybe skim the conversation for things that would apply to you and your team or your product, or maybe a blind spot that's going to affect somebody else, and then you're proactively surfacing concerns.
Right. Sometimes you have to just brainwash yourself of the thing that they're talking about is something you care about, and you almost force yourself to form an opinion and then say it. And I found a lot of people will believe in what you said. I think our words carry a lot more weight than we realize. But a lot of times we're the first filter of ourselves. We're like, that's stupid.
Like, that's a stupid question.
Right. As I grow up, this trick that I talk about almost stopped working because there are so many meetings I got to attend every day. And they're usually back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're double booked or triple booked. And so I developed another trick. I will grab a person from my team to join with me. Like, I would like handpick who to bring with me. And that person usually get invited to the meeting anyway, because they either contributed to the doc or they have some insights. I would just tell them straight away.
What questions do you have?
It's like, I don't have time to read this. What questions do you have? What is your biggest concern? Or I will word it in a way to help them. Like, where do you see I can jump in to help you?
Because they'll be candid about maybe a frustration or a concern.
Right.
And then you can use your approach to ask it in a more professional or appropriate
But you kind
way.
of have to build that trust up front, so they don't feel like, oh, this is my boss or my boss's boss coming and get me.
Yeah.
And you have to like have a track record of fighting for the team up front. So they know, okay, I will be candid with you, so you can help me remove whatever roadblocks I'm facing.
Yeah.
And they will just feed me, hey, page 2, line 36, don't agree with that.
Well, and this probably sounds very transactional, but it's not. It's helpful for both parties.
Right.
Because they need you to potentially pull your level and title or just neutral voice in a review. And then you need them because they need to give you like the spark notes on what's happening.
And most people want to, come to work and then do the right thing. And it just, they don't necessarily agree with tech team or the product team they've been working with.
Yeah.
And, there's a disagreement, and the chances are I was brought to the meeting to figure out how to solve the disagreement. And I'm selfish. I need to do the right thing, yes, for the customer, but also to my team.
Yeah.
I don't want them to not want to work for me. So I was just like, hey, what frustration do you have?
Yeah, that's smart.
Right. And usually they'll be like, oh my God.
So many things.
So many things. And then a lot of times they will send me an essay. Like they were just rage typing. And my job became very easy. I would just pick, or I just chat GPT and just ask, hey, translate into this like a more of a nicer way or political correct way that I can word these frustration into a question to my counterparts in whatever team. And a lot of times it's just like literally a sentence that they type to me. I just read word by word, maybe with a little bit, emotion, or I will butter up the other team up front so they couldn't say no to what I'm going to ask them. Or if we don't get along, I would just make the situation more awkward for them to feel uncomfortable.
Pointing out their wrongs.
And at certain times, I needed them to escalate to another person that can talk in my language. So a lot of times you talk to another person or another team, and it's like endless loop. You're talking in circle, and usually it's because I asked the wrong team. I have the wrong person in front of me. I just need to talk to another person.
Yeah.
And I just need to find that person. And usually it works. And there are times it doesn't work. And I was just like...
But either way, you're not the guy on a call not adding value or talking for the sake of talking.
Right. So. Those are the things you just borrow other people's expertise, knowledge, sometimes authorities too. Like I've borrowed the VP authorities. I became the person who just like rage typing to them.
Yeah.
And then they will do the same. And then sometimes they will ask me questions, or they will just say something very subtle at the beginning. And usually when the VP said a word, people take it as a Bible.
Yeah.
And I'll just like tag along that word and then, extend. And usually people are like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to, leverage and borrow.
Yeah.
And the key thing is to build those relationships up front. So you have credibility, you have reputation, and people can trust you. People can break through walls for you. But before that, you got to break through walls for them.
It's your piggy bank analogy.
Right, yeah.
You have to make deposits before you can make withdrawals.
And I'm a firm believer that there's no way you can predict at some point I'm going to need something from you. So my philosophy is always just do the right thing. If they need help, if it's a lift of finger, just do it for them. You don't need anything from them. I don't ask anything from them. You just do it. You do it for once. And you did it for to so many people. It's a compound interest. Maybe a relationship or a favor you did to another person 5 years ago eventually is going to grow into a tree, and you cannot predict that, and you shouldn't. And you just do the right thing, and then make everything so simple. You don't have to overcalculate, and usually when you don't ask anything back from a person, they will remember that. They'll remember, there's a
it's an unspoken exchange.
Right, there's a reciprocation. I completely agree that humor can quickly bring people closer, but just trying to please others can feel fake and create more distance. I have a few practical questions. Number one, how can you quickly tell if someone is the type of person you can joke with? You just know.
What?
You just know.
You just know.
Right.
I think it's the body language again, and how you can see how someone's interacting with others who they maybe have more familiarity with before you interact with them, and can get a vibe on if there's someone to joke around with.
Right.
It can be one or the other, and you have to also know what brings this group of people together. If you're walking in because there's a serious escalation, probably not a good time to joke. If it's a team lunch, then that's an environment where you'll probably know someone's going to be
Right.
at least open and receptive to joking around or sharing something funny.
Right.
So I think that's important context too.
Yeah.
Like what brings you together in the first place.
True,
Because
the
then it might
context.
seem out of place.
The stage,
Yes.
the setup. I think jokes, it's a fine line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the how to ask questions in the meeting without knowing too much about the content of the meeting.
Yeah.
There's a formula. I think joke is too spontaneous. If you want to do it well, you can't miss a beat. And the risk is high. People can take your joke a lot of different ways, and there's nothing you can control. So my advice, if you're newer to the workplace, to corporate America, I don't think you need to emphasize too much on how to entertain the group and tell the joke. I think self-deprecation is a good way.
I was going to say
It's
that.
a safer, but if we're going to make a joke about another person, about whatever topic, it takes time to feel the vibe, feel the person. It can be dicey.
I think I was thinking right now when you were speaking the literal translation of joke, and I don't think what's common is people telling jokes. It's creating an atmosphere and environment where it's okay to be funny or more relaxed. So like when I'm funny at work, it's self-deprecating. It's, oh, cool, I just tripped and fell walking into the
Right.
room, and it's okay if people laugh at me because I'm talking about it. But I'm not
Right.
like telling a joke versus, for example, I was on a flight 2 days ago. The flight attendant is going over the safety briefing with us in the exit row, and he says, as long as none of you are Bear fans, I'm sure you can all read this and understand it. To where I thought, oh, that's funny. But then what if you're a Bears fan? And that's now insulting. And then that's where I think you kind of are towing the line, because like we don't have a relationship. You don't know
Right.
how I feel about that. Is the ROI on being the funny guy really worth it? But I think for the most part, people aren't telling jokes. If they're telling jokes about other people, that's toxic gossiping, like you mentioned. But if they're self-deprecating and it's something funny that happened to them or happened and they're making light of it, it's okay to like laugh
Right.
with them. But you don't need to necessarily be the one starting the jokes.
Yeah, I think playing along is
Yeah.
safer
Yeah.
than starting out of nowhere. Like the context, the atmosphere, the vibe, it takes a lot of skill to set it up. And you have to have that energy. A lot of jokes, like stand-up comedians, it's their energy that brings, it's over the top, or it's certain sarcastic type of personality that gets the audience, not necessarily the verbatim, the jokes that they told.
A lot of it's storytelling.
Right. Yeah, and how you structure it. Yeah, I think self-deprecating and playing along. I think you had a good one. In Okinawa, we were talking about tsunami or typhoon. The Japanese manager was like, yeah, like typhoon in the Okinawa area is kind of peculiar because it moves slow. The speed is almost like a little boy biking. And somehow in my head, I was like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, so why is it called a typhoon when it's like slow as a bicycle?
Yeah.
You're like, Mike, you've been doing this for a long time. The speed of typhoon is this.
Yeah.
It's spinning.
Yeah.
They're talking about how fast they move. It's two different things.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, I'm too old. Yeah.
Yeah.
But things like that is fine. Starting a joke, it takes courage and skill.
And you don't need to be the one that starts it, and you can still be included and participate, and I think that's fine.
What kind of humor is appropriate and just right? I think we talked about this. Don't be offensive. Don't be racist. Don't be sexist. Don't be ageist.
Don't ever speak about somebody who's not in the room.
Right.
Rule number one. And it should never be critical. I think if you're criticizing something or somebody, you risk somebody having a differing opinion and it going south very quickly.
Oh, that's a good one.
And that applies to all topics.
Right.
I think self-deprecating is the safest, or a joke about the weather, like neutral things that you don't have control over.
Right.
But yeah, usually talking about others will never be well received. And then you just put a caution on your forehead of, well, they're speaking about this person, what are they saying about me?
Right.
For the expense of a joke. It's not that serious.
Okay, next question is, if your joke doesn't get the expected reaction, how do you keep the conversation flowing afterwards?
I think just move on fast. Like the longer you wait and sit in the awkwardness, you're going to feel pressured to clarify or repeat. And if it really didn't land and it came out the correct way, you're just going to make it worse. But then you see people who can kind of master the skill of being like, oh, just kidding.
Right.
And then they just move on. But that's where I think the general advice, what we've talked about in today's discussion, is just if you're unsure about how it's going to land, just don't say anything.
Don't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not being paid as a stand-up comedian.
You don't need to be the funny guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes the funny guy does not get good reputation behind.
Yeah, and I don't think this is unique to people that aren't native English speakers. I think if I go into a room and I'm not sure what the dynamic is or people's personality traits, I'm still not going to make jokes, even though I'll tell it in a way for them to understand perfectly, because it still might not land. Like,
right, yeah.
It has to be people you have the relationship built with to joke with.
At work. It's more of a personal life. I get why I ask a lot of questions about jokes and humor. It's because I think naturally we have the need of feeling the belonging to somewhere, right? Like without a laugh, without a giggles, like you kind of feel like you're being alienated.
Or that it's just very transactional.
Right, yeah. So you kind of want to create some camaraderie with the team and with your friends, which is understandable. But you don't have to be a clown.
Yeah, you can, like I said, how was your weekend?
Right.
Oh, I remember Mike told me he was taking his family to the pumpkin patch. So you can make the deposit by remembering the personal facts.
Right.
Like, how was your trip to the pumpkin patch? And that will still build the same closeness and togetherness that you want with somebody without the risk of offending them.
I think what we want is being a charismatic person. And being funny or having a sense of humor is part of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a master of that. There are a lot of ways of, being charismatic. Like you said, remembering important things about another person and being able to articulate that or following up afterwards. That's a skill that 99% people don't have. Either they don't care or they don't remember or they couldn't link together the two things. And being visionary, being able to speak about industry trend, even though it's like dry and not fun at all. But I assume your colleagues are all in that industry will want to know what's your opinion about, X, Y, and Z. That make people look up to you if you can articulate that personally.
Well, I think being empathetic, whether that's as an individual contributor or a leader, goes further than being funny. And yes, that contributes to your general charisma that you have with the team. If you're unsure about joking, how to use humor, whether it's appropriate or not, these are all other examples you can control and leverage appropriately that will actually go further than just being like the comedian of the group.
Right. What do you think about stand-up comedians' approach of entertaining the audience by criticizing or picking on one person?
I think what's different about that is if I go to a stand-up comedian, I expect that. My expectation is that they're doing their job to make me laugh, and it's probably going to be somewhat offensive, but their intent isn't to be offensive, it's to be funny. Versus at work, and even if you're outside of work but you're with co-workers, you have to think I'm never going to see a comedian again that offends me, but I'm going to have to work with somebody, and if I hurt their feelings and this is going to create a rift in our working relationship moving forward, that's very hard to recover than not taking the risk at all.
Yeah, it's like if I'm stuck with a comedian for 7 days, you better not to make any jokes, man.
Yeah.
How should you handle a disagreement with a senior leader? If I insist on my own opinion, I'm afraid of getting shut down by my boss for not seeing the big picture. But I genuinely don't agree with their approach.
You professionally need to articulate what your concerns are and why you disagree, or maybe a better way to phrase it is have an alternative solution. And then if your manager takes your feedback and still makes that decision, you already surfaced these potential issues. The manager has the final say. So like at the end of the day, you can't necessarily force them to change their mind, but if you can explain the risk they're running and then they are fine accepting that risk and still making the same decision, I think that's your responsibility.
Right, yeah. I think that you have to separate what's a you problem and what is a they problem or a company's problem. You're not in charge of the end product or the end result. Maybe if you're a COO,
Sure.
maybe you're in charge of some end result, but you're still not the CEO, right? You're not going to be scrutinized or grilled by, Wall Street analysts. So like doing your part, control what you can control and separate your own feelings from that. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, if you tell me an idea and I don't like it, I'm going to say, okay, my concerns with that are sales might dip for the next 3 months. Our employees aren't going to be happy. We'll see that in our engagement scores. And, this is going to now force me to deprioritize this other initiative you asked me to work on. Are you okay with that? And as the boss, if you say yes, then okay. I think that's where it's not personal. And say your boss makes a mistake, you would hope in this situation they're able to come back and say, you were right. This was, worse than I anticipated. Can you help me course correct? And then that, again, will hopefully help the bond between you and your manager. But at the end of the day, it's not your decision.
What if the decision eventually impacts you?
I think it's still the same approach because you don't make the decision. I think all you can do is take the emotional and the personal side out of it and be able to showcase and clarify what the risks are with the decision, and then make sure that there's a mitigation plan for each risk that may come up.
That makes sense. The fact that we don't know how to have an effective disagreement conversation is an indicator that we just don't have enough of phrases stored in our arsenal. If you have those, like either as a vocabulary or expressions, how you word certain things based on how you feel, you can link directly. You have almost like a mapping.
Yeah. This could be its own separate question, I think, because how you voice your disagreement is probably more important than the fact that you disagree.
Yes.
Like if I say that's a stupid idea, here's what's wrong with your idea, we're not going to have a productive conversation. Right. If I say
this is
my
where
concerns,
you practice self-deprecation.
Yeah.
Yes, it is stupid.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I have a really silly idea. How about we don't lose $1 million? Yeah.
Yeah. What are the go-to ways of you approaching a disagreement with your boss?
I think I tend to use phrases that I just shared, like my concerns with this plan are, or I was thinking the same thing. However, I'm concerned about how the employees might feel about this change. What are your thoughts? And you try to make it more conversational instead of debating. Like we're not arguing whose plan is best. We should look at what the end goal of what we're trying to solve is and figure out which plan does that, the most effective or the fastest way, and then look at the different risks or fallout there could be, and then assume what you want to take on.
Do you go straight to the point, or do you kind of skirt it out a little bit and have them kind of feel what you're trying to say?
Well, I think my unique experience and perspective is it depends. If it's a process decision, I will go straight to the point because to me, it's not personal. It's not going to offend me if you don't like an icon design, maybe in a tool, or you don't like the structure of this doc. That's an easy thing to adjust. When it's something with large team impacts and I'm a team leader and I'm going to have to deal with long-term repercussions of making an unfavorable decision, that's when I think I will still speak up quickly, but put more thought into how I communicate what's going to happen. Because I think when you make decisions at 10,000, 30,000 feet, sometimes the frontline leaders are the ones who actually have to, roll it out and then deal with it. And that perspective is sometimes forgotten on big changes.
Right.
So I think there's people and there's process changes, and they take two different approaches.
Did you learn these along the way, or was it somewhere At what point did you, at your career, you figure out, I think I got it. I figure out how to deal with a boss that I don't necessarily agree with?
I think you have to show alignment in the goal, like early on and then repeatedly. I think there has to be a known understanding that I want to support you and what you're trying to drive and what the team needs to adopt, which then there's trust. And then say my manager then knows that where I'm expressing concern or pushback is not because I'm not aligned to the goal, it's because I have a different lens. And I think in an ideal world and where you have good leaders want people to bring diverse perspectives because it helps them in the long run.
Otherwise, why would I hire you? I pay you like so much money for just saying yes.
And then that's also too where like as a leader, if somebody comes to me with all these concerns and I know it's not as maybe scary as they think it is, my job is also to put them at ease and let them know, like you said, I have your back, I'm going to support you, and here's what we're going to do about it.
Right.
But I think it took a lot of time, like in making mistakes where I had to share something to a team of 50 people, get tons of pushback and questions that I wasn't prepared to answer, and then feeling frustrated that I knew this was going to happen and didn't do anything about it, to where when you're more prepared, it usually goes better.
This is an interesting one. Your advice is really helpful for navigating the workplace overseas. I have a question. What should I do if a client gives credit for my work to someone else?
This is a good one. This happens a lot, unfortunately. Depending on the setting, there's a couple different approaches. This has happened to me, which is why I'm clearly excited thinking about all of the times this has happened. There's ways to say, like, let's just use names for the sake of simplicity. Mike, I did a project, and in the meeting, you give credit to somebody named Stephanie. There's a way to jump in and say, yes, I was really excited helping Stephanie with our plan to do 1, 2, and 3, and show that you're part of the discussion and that you've contributed to it in a way to engage, not in a way to correct. Like showing interest, or yes, I really enjoyed helping her with the cost association that's going to come with this change. And then people see. But then I also think on the other side, it doesn't really matter unless it's going to impact the way your boss views your contributions.
Right.
Because if you're a connected leader to your employee, you know what I'm working on. And you have to just kind of let it roll off your back if someone else takes credit for your work. But if my boss is giving the credit to somebody else, that's different.
Yeah.
And as long as the client's problem is solved, it doesn't matter who gets credit for it, because the internal team will know who did it. So like say your client has an issue with reporting metrics, and the account manager tells them, yep, Stephanie fixed this bug for you. It's fixed, but really I did it. It doesn't matter, because now the client is happy and we keep them, and that keeps the business, generating revenue. And internally, I would think for the most part with engineering or product operations, they know who actually did it. And if there's follow-up questions, this person isn't going to be able to answer them, so it's going to come back to you.
That's a very good point. If you want to get the credits, you're thinking to get credits, you're kind of waiting. It's like you're passively waiting for a credit to be given to you, right? And it's by luck. Maybe there's an 80% chance that you will be given that credit. There's a 20% chance that the person or the client is just an idiot and he doesn't know who to give the credit to, and he just give it to whoever is in front of him.
Sure.
So the strategy to me is you're going to change the way of thinking. Rather than waiting for a credit to be given to you, you go get that credit. And that is 100% within your control.
It's mechanisms.
Yeah, you set up certain ways to just go get it.
Or you set up, if you have a reoccurring meeting, like with my experience in product, there's a monthly product release call I facilitate. I'm inadvertently getting the credit because I set up the call and speak to the things that are coming. Exactly. So it's proactive control over the credit that you want versus just waiting because, someone else will just take it. Yeah, and if somebody else gets the credit and they can't follow up on it, it will be very clear who actually worked on it.
For me, that's the mental change I embraced early in my career and I found very helpful. I think this is from one of my bosses in the early days that he kind of almost like taught me this without teaching me. He just like forced me to say something at a certain part of certain meetings. And I had no idea why he asked me to do those things. But eventually they just all add up and the resources will come to me proactively.
Right.
I think toward the end he explained it to me, like why you need to be the first one speaking up in the meeting, because at the end of the day people don't remember what you said. People remember who said it. People remember you're always the person who spoke the first at the meeting. That's all that matters.
Yep.
You might say a bunch of stupid things and that's okay. And you probably don't remember, like, not to mention nobody else would remember a single word that you said. They only remember you're the person who spoke.